This episode is powered by SMUD, Sacramento Municipal Utility District's Shine Awards program benefiting nonprofits for energy efficiency. Apply today. Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Our purpose and passion are simple: to highlight the incredible nonprofits that make our communities stronger. Each episode is a chance for these organizations to tell their story in their words, sharing not just what they do, but why it matters to the people they serve, to their supporters, and to all of us who believe in the power of community. Through podcasting, we hope to amplify their voices, inspire connection, and give them one more tool to impact the hearts of donors, partners, and neighbors alike. Our work is made possible through the generous support of our partners. CapTrust, offering fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations. Western Health Advantage, a local, not-for-profit health plan that believes healthcare is more than coverage. It's about caring. CORE, Executive Leadership and Comprehensive Support Services. They work in it so you can work on it. And Five Star Bank, a local, trusted advisor to community nonprofits for over 25 years. Our episode sponsor is Sacramento Venture Philanthropy, a community of generosity combining people, expertise, and capital for good. Volunteers are the lifeblood of nearly every nonprofit organization. They help deliver programs, support events, extend capacity, and in many cases make the mission possible. Yet one of the most common challenges we hear from nonprofit leaders is, we need more volunteers. The reality is that volunteer engagement is far more complex than simply asking people to help. Recruiting, training, scheduling, retaining, and recognizing volunteers requires a unique skill set, and that's exactly where today's guest comes in. Joining us is Twyla Title, Program Chair for DOVIA Sacramento. Joining us is Twyla Title, Program Chair for Directors of Volunteers in Agencies, or DOVIA Sacramento as it's better known, an organization that has spent nearly 50 years supporting the people responsible for volunteer engagement across our region. From professional development and mentorship to volunteer recruitment strategies and peer-to-peer learning, DOVIA helps nonprofits build stronger volunteer programs and ultimately create greater impact. If your organization relies on volunteers or wishes it had more of them, you're going to want to hear this conversation. Twyla Title, welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network.
Jeff, I'm so excited to be here and more excited that you could pronounce my name correctly. That never happens.
I could tell by the shock on your face that I said it correctly.
Whoa, it's got to be me. I know that name.
For any nonprofit,
yes,
and I mean any nonprofit, volunteers are really the lifeblood of the organization. It's one of the benefits of being a nonprofit is that you have the ability to have volunteers do what needs to be done to accomplish the mission or the purpose or whatever it is of the organization. And you are an organization that's all about volunteers.
It's DOVIA. In our name. It's in our name, Jeff.
And DOVIA, D-O-V-I-A, is an acronym for?
Directors of Volunteers in Agencies. D-O-V-I-A. Nothing to do with the Dove Bar, but yes, Directors of Volunteers in Agencies.
And I wonder how many people, myself included, until we were connected, I didn't know you existed.
I know.
And I know we have organizations that come through when we ask about greatest need. It's not always money.
No, that's true.
It can oftentimes be, we need people, we need volunteers. We don't know where to get the numbers of people we need, or short term, we need them soon, just for an event or a capacity building thing. Tell me about the organization.
Well, I love DOVIA. This is actually my second stint at DOVIA. When I was first hired as a volunteer coordinator way back when, maybe even before you were in Sacramento, 2007, 2008, were you in Sacramento yet then?
1985.
Oh, okay. So you've probably heard of St. John's Homeless Shelter.
I did, yes.
I was teaching yoga at a local studio. And one of my students was Michelle Steeb. I don't know if you've ever heard of Michelle Steeb.
I sure do. She used to run St. John's.
She used to run St. John's. So she said, would you like to volunteer to do yoga for our women at St. John's? I said, sure. And after a few sessions, she said, oh, our volunteer coordinator is leaving. Would you like the job? I said, sure, that sounds fun. I have no idea what they do, but sure, that sounds fun. And she immediately hooked me up with this organization called DOVIA. She was, they're going to teach you everything you need to learn. I said, okay. So I was lucky enough to meet Mary Lynn Perry. Kelly Siefkin was a member at that time when she worked at Sacramento Food Bank. We had Crystal Vargas of United Way. All the biggies who knew everything about volunteer coordination, volunteer management. I was lucky to get hands-on training from them. And since then, it's been dear to my heart. So then after I left St. John's and went on to do other things, and then I recently got the job 3 years ago at Meristem, I said, I wonder if Dovia is still around. Sure enough, sent a letter. But Mary Lynn, still there, wrote me back and said, Twyla, come on back. And so I'm back there, and I love the organization.
So you are the program chair.
Yes.
Tell me, again, for the benefit of people who don't know, and I'm sure that many people are going to say, oh my gosh, there's an organization out there that might be able to help me with volunteers.
Sure.
What are some of the programs that you offer? What are some of the services you offer to the nonprofit community?
And that's a great question. Thank you. Because people will think, oh, they just get around, talk, and maybe, go out to dinner once in a while, have their bunco game or something like that. Actually, volunteer coordination is highly specialized. It might not sound like it, but, when you think of all the details that come in to play when it's organizing volunteers, you've got to find them. You've got to recruit them. You've got to retain them. You've got to organize them once they get there. You need to tell them what to wear. You need to tell them what time to get there. You need to make sure that when they get there, they have breaks, they have food, they have restroom, whatever it is. You need to tell them what specifically are you going to do. Now, that's the day of. The day before, like you said, where do you find them? Where are we going to find them? A lot of things, as we've mentioned earlier, the Volunteer Center no longer exists. Impact Foundry morphed into something else. So where do we get those volunteers? And a lot has changed from when I first was recruiting volunteers for St. John's and now recruiting. I mean, we actually have computers now that we can send out social media. In the olden days, we couldn't do that. Now it's so nice. I can text the Jesuit students, the Jesuit high school students, hey, can you come out for Saturday and, garden or whatever. So there's all different ways to connect with the public or with possible volunteers. Also, I just recently started a newsletter for where I work, and we put things in there. Dovia has a great newsletter, but how do we get that out to everyone? That's the question. That's what we're trying to do. And there's different ways we can go about that. Again, with social media. Again, me going to a different organization and saying, hey, volunteer coordinator, I just noticed that Rancho Cordova Food Locker morphed into Rancho Cordova Community Food Hub. And so I saw Inez's name, and I thought, I'm going to contact her, because that would be a great way. They're looking for volunteers. They need people. And that's one thing about being volunteer coordinator. Our job cannot be replaced by AI. Not that I don't love AI, Jeff, which I do, and I'll be taking that AI for Good that Brad told me about. But we need people to organize people. And that's what Dovia does, is help you with your job, with resources, with webinars, with peer-to-peer, with mentoring. We have a mentorship program. So if you join Dovia as a new volunteer and not sure what to do, we've got those experts in there that can walk you through it one-on-one. Even how to talk to your executive director, how to get your entire nonprofit on board so they know that volunteers are a backbone, are essential, or like you said, the life force to an organization.
It's for me, it's a logistical nightmare. That's not my strength. This is one of the things I hate doing. When somebody says, hey, we're going to do this, we have a wonderful golf tournament. I'm like, oh, no, let's get rid of the golf tournament. It usually doesn't produce anywhere near the amount of revenue versus grief. And, that's a lot of volunteers.
You can check. Well, that's a volunteer coordinator's job, the coordinator or volunteer manager. We need to take out the word grief and we put in fun, okay?
Yeah, I agree, yes.
Volunteer managers just want to have fun. You think it was a Cyndi Lauper song? No, it's not girls. It's volunteer managers just want to have fun. And if this wasn't fun for us, we couldn't do it. Sure, there's a lot of stuff that's involved with it. It's like an event planner. Every little thing. What happens if the photographer doesn't show up?
My next nightmare. Same situation.
Which I used to do too. I was event planning. That's, and that worked really well. That was really helpful to, the things that I do now.
And that's the reality of what this is. I mean, you may be a small organization with 30 volunteers, but when you have an event, you still need to coordinate it. And who does that fall upon? Typically, it's the executive director, CEO, president, whoever that organization's leader is. It's a nightmare. They don't have time for that.
Nor should they.
No, nor should they. That's correct, because it's going to be disproportionate to what they should be doing, could be doing differently. That doesn't consume as much time in a space that they're probably more comfortable.
Exactly. And Jeff, to that point, when you brought up the executive director, I've seen scenarios where some of the members of DOVIA or some of the members become members of DOVIA because their executive director says, put on a golf tournament. And it's like, well, what? How do I do that? You can't go to the executive director and say, well, how do you suggest I do that? You need to talk to another volunteer coordinator that's put on, or a diaper drive, or whatever it is
Or a
that you're
10K
looking
run,
at.
or
Or a 10K run,
Right.
or just something that we did like Journey of Hope. We've got all these bicyclist riders coming out on June 8th. And they need a place to stay. They need a place to shower. So I contacted where I used to teach yoga and, got those things going. So all those little logistics, that's where a volunteer coordinator comes in. That's where it helps to know the other volunteer coordinators in the area. And that's what we are.
Well, and you just answered, you segued beautifully into the next question, because it is, who do you collaborate with? You just said the old yoga studio I used to work for, or maybe other volunteer coordinators for other organizations who know what they're talking about, and they can share, yeah, we've done this before. Here's what you're going to run into. Here's the things to be careful. And you may be a volunteer, but you still could run into some really significant challenges if you weren't paying attention to all the things that needed to be covered.
Exactly.
And again, this is where the organization comes into play, right?
That and in so many different ways too. Just like Jeff, I think I've seen that there's podcasting workshops or seminars. Isn't there a big one in Las Vegas for the Yes.
Yep.
And so you'd like to get together with other podcasters. Which mic are you using? Oh, Sawyer's great, or whatever you want to do. Same thing with our
Sawyer would be our producer for those of you who don't know.
He's world famous now, yeah. And so to get more tips on that. Same thing with DOVIA. That's why we were so excited to have DOVIA of Sacramento host the Alive Conference.
And that is, tell us a little bit about
Association, that's the A part. L, leaders. I, involvement, volunteer engagement. Association of leaders involved in volunteer engagement.
And does this happen annually?
This is our very first one.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Very first one with Nicole Smith as the executive director. Alive used to have a lot more of them before the shutdown. And then nobody was going anywhere. And nobody was
the pandemic.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, okay.
So, yeah. And so now everybody's like, yeah, let's get together. Let's reinvent this. So we were chosen out of all the other cities that could have been in the United States. They chose Sacramento. That's because our DOVIA board, we worked really hard to get them here so they could see Sacramento, mainly Rancho Cordova, which was great because DOVIA also goes to Placer County and El Dorado County. We had people from Stockton, people from LA. There were people from Canada that came. We had one member, she's on the Alive board. She just developed a great relationship with DOVIA. Two of her flights were canceled. She drove from Minnesota to Rancho Cordova just to be at the conference and meet the DOVIA staff.
That's the volunteer I want on my nonprofit.
But I'm telling you, that's what we want. That's how engaged we are. That's how, yes.
So that was let's call it a national conference that came and
for
met
3 days, yes.
And it was earlier in the year,
March 17th, 18th, and 19th. That's correct.
Tell us a little bit about the programs that DOVIA Sacramento presents. What are they? What are some of the other benefits of, let's say, membership for the organization?
We put on a lot of trainings, educational trainings. We'll bring in leaders in the volunteer engagement world. We can either do that online. We also have done them in person. We've also done hybrid. So if some people maybe, because San Francisco used to have a DOVIA and they don't have a DOVIA anymore. Or Oakland used to have one. Stockton used to have one and they don't have one anymore. So they can either come in person, have fun with us, or they can do it online. And so those hybrid conferences are really important. We also have programs like Alive, and I love the one that's coming up. It says, we've got to stop with a just volunteer coordinator. Drop that just. We want to be just as important as your HR person, something like that. So we can help support each other when maybe our executive director or maybe the rest of our coworkers really aren't on board. They see us as kind of secondary, like, oh yeah, can you get me 5 volunteers by Friday to do such and such? And magically out of a hat, just like magic, here we get the volunteers. Okay, great. She can always get them. Just have her do that. And it's really much more involved in that. So sometimes when the volunteer coordinators are facing a little burnout, or, we can help them a little bit with that. Also, as program chair, I didn't want to just have the educational programs, which are important, or the sharing of the resources, but I wanted us to get out and see what other organizations are doing. So I contacted my old alma mater, St. John's, when I was volunteer coordinator there. I said, our members would like to come and serve food. And so we did that. And that was part of and we then afterwards, we all got to sit down, talk about different resources, talk about where we're going next. Area 4, Agency on Aging, I think you're familiar with them. I said, we have some volunteers and our members. We would like to, is there anything you'd like us to do over the holidays? I think we wrote out 250 cards to seniors and wrapped over 100 quilts for them. Again, networking, again, meeting other volunteers in the area. One of my volunteers, I said, would you like to go to this? She said, sure. Then she met another organization where she'd like to volunteer there, so she volunteers at both places. Let me just say something about seniors, too. Sawyer, you're not there yet. Jeff, you probably aren't there yet. But me, I am there yet. And we want to stay involved. It's not just like, okay, I retired. Not all of us think that just golfing 5 days a week is going to be fun. Seniors are untapped, wonderful resource for volunteers. And once you get hooked into them, it's really good. And we can share those resources at DOVIA.
And I was going to ask you that question because one of the things that we see, certainly with board engagement, is there's always an interest in bringing the age of the board down. So it's more contemporary.
I get that.
On the flip side, for volunteers, obviously you have to have the time.
Sure.
And that would tend to mean that it's probably somebody where they're not raising children and they're not worried about college and their employment is maybe comfortable enough to where they have the time to do so. What do you see? Has anything changed in the course of that 20 years that you've been involved in terms of volunteering?
And that's a great question. Thank you. When I worked at St. John's, I'll just say the population was a little bit different as far as the volunteers. Now when I'm working at Meristem, and I don't know if it's just because of the surrounding...
And for the benefit of those who don't know, explain Meristem quickly.
Oh, Meristem. Oh, I'm sorry. That's where I work as volunteer coordinator and outreach, I say specialist, I just say person who gets around a lot. Meristem is a program. We're located in Fair Oaks. We're for the young adult, that's ages 18 and up, who have neurodiverse issues or on the autism spectrum. We have a program there. Some of our students live there. Some of them just go to the day program. It's a program where they can learn whatever they want to, something like they're not quite ready for college. They need a few more, build maybe some confidence, maybe some skills in that. They want to get a job. We have a program called Work Skills where they can get out and learn to, maybe they want to learn how to drive. So different programs, they have to come in with a goal. Some sort of goal. They can, and we have a great program. It's a 3-year program, but it doesn't have to be 3 years. We had one person come. She was interested in hospitality, cooking, baking. So she actually took classes at AR. After a year, she was accepted in their hospitality program, and so she wasn't at Meristem anymore.
Yeah, and for the benefit of those who don't know, we did do an episode with Aaron Schremm, your executive director.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of him.
Right? And so that is in the queue if you just search Meristem.
Yeah, look for Aaron. Shout out to Aaron.
Yes.
Thanks, Aaron. Okay, yes. Right, so back to the original question of the population.
Yes.
All the time. This is another good population, too. So I have the seniors that I'm dialed into, mainly because I do know seniors. And so maybe that's why they hired me. Maybe it was hired the old person and they wanted, more diversity at Meristem, so they hired me. But because I do have connections with them, I can say, hey, you want to come and volunteer at Meristem? And we have a great time.
And a lot of those connections come from your relationship, the volunteer side of things, with DOVIA.
With DOVIA, definitely. Exactly with DOVIA.
Yeah.
Sharing volunteers, sharing resources. And another one is teachers. A lot of teachers have, this was their last day of school for a lot of different districts. So I have one teacher. She works at Natomas High School. She goes, I'd love to volunteer, maybe just on Tuesdays. She associates with the program, which is great. And what we learn also as volunteer managers, volunteer coordinators, is the importance, just like any relationship that you have, keeping that relationship going is really important. How do we stay in contact with our volunteers? Why it's so important. Now, I was always brought up this way, Jeff, maybe you were too. When I received a present, Christmas, birthday, whatever, I couldn't use it, wear it, eat it, or spend it until I wrote a thank you note.
A thank you note.
You'd be surprised how many people contact me and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got a handwritten note for you just for volunteering for 4 hours. Now, I would do that with a senior, but I wouldn't necessarily write a handwritten note to a Jesuit student. They're never, something like that. So I noticed that So what we can teach or help you realize at DOVIA is that different, and I'm not trying to make it age-wise, but different populations want to be appreciated
differently
in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a blanket, let's have a volunteer appreciation dinner, have everybody come. A lot of people don't want to spend their evening at a luncheon,
I've already
at a dinner.
volunteered.
I've already done.
Yeah.
Thank you note is fine. So what I do, because of the unique situation that Meristem has, is we have a cafe that's open to the public. We have a wonderful volunteer organization, Lend a Heart. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Nope.
They bring out therapy dogs twice a month. I contacted them. We'd love to bring out therapy dogs. Great. They bring out therapy dogs. Now, as a thank you, I've given each of them gift certificates to the cafe. That's the way they don't want to have to come to another event and either leave their dog at home or something like that. But that at their own leisure. So we look at different ways that we can appreciate the volunteer depending upon what works best for their organization.
This program is generously supported by our partners. We'll be back to hear more about volunteers in our community right after their brief messages.
Make our communities bright with Smudge Shine Awards. Now through July 31st, your nonprofit can apply for a chance to receive funding for projects that improve and revitalize communities in our service area. We're seeking proposals that support zero carbon workforce development, affordability and community resiliency, economic development, and STEM education. Smudge Shine Awards are competitive and funds are limited. Submit your proposal by July 31st. Learn more at smud.org/shine.
I'm James Beckwith, President and CEO of 5 Star Bank. We're dedicated to supporting nonprofit organizations who advocate for the strength, resilience, and vitality of those they serve. When nonprofit organizations thrive, our community does too. By supporting the Nonprofit Podcast Network, 5 Star Bank is amplifying the voices and meaningful impact of our nonprofit community. We're 5 Star Bank, a trusted nonprofit partner. How can we help you?
We are really excited to be part of the family and contribute to the work that you all are doing. CORE provides fractional and interim executive services, along with comprehensive back office solutions that go into our client sites and do the work to give them the capacity they need in order to move through transitions, whether that's planned or unplanned. Or companies also work with our accounting and finance, back office solutions, human resources, technology, and administration. The reason why our back office solutions add value is because we save them time and money, anywhere from 20 to 30% of what they would spend on that back office solution. We work in it so they can actually work on it. CXORE.com and contact me directly at DTEAT@CXORE.com.
If you're interested in learning more about how CORE may help your organization, visit CXORE.com.
Hello, this is Scott Thomas with Cap Trust in our Sacramento office. I specialize in working with local nonprofits and associations. Annually, we survey private and public nonprofit organizations across the country to better understand challenges they see in today's environment. In our more recent survey, we heard concerns about proper board governance, mission-aligned investment, and how to implement alternative investments. If you would like a copy of the survey or to discuss your organization, look me up, Scott Thomas at captrust.com.
I'm thrilled to have Western Health Advantage partnering with us as they do so much to support so many nonprofit agencies in our community. As a truly local health plan, you'll find individual and family options, employer options, plans for CalPERS and Medicare Advantage. From medical services to pharmacy, health and wellness support, as well as behavioral health care, Western Health Advantage has a plan that fits what you need. As an employer, for profit or nonprofit business, individual or family, you can find more at westernhealth.com.
Hi, I'm Brad Squires, CEO of Sacramento Venture Philanthropy. For more than a decade, SVP has brought together local donors, business leaders, and nonprofit changemakers to do philanthropy differently. Through pooled funding, hands-on mentorship, and programs like Fast Pitch and 100X, SVP helps nonprofits build real, long-term capacity, not just short-term solutions. If you're looking to go beyond writing the check and want to use your experience, your voice, your leadership to create a lasting impact and have a lot of fun doing it, now is the time to join SVP. Learn more about becoming a partner at svpsacramento.org.
Let's talk a little bit about funding, because you are an all-volunteer organization.
Ching.
There's still a little bit of need for
There's always going to
revenue.
be a need for funding. Sustainable funding, I asked Mary Lynn, who you know, and I asked our executive director, I said, what do you think is probably the biggest need? And of course, I knew what their perspective was going to be. They said sustainable funding. You probably heard of capital building, making sure that kind of thing. That's a new buzzword for nonprofits. And luckily, we're debt-free. We don't owe any money to anybody. But we also get our money through membership, which is very affordable, you can...
I do. I want to address that, because I think if somebody's listening, they're going, oh my gosh, I don't need a subscription to something else, and it's expensive, and we're small, we're all volunteer, we really don't have much money, but boy, we need those 30, 40, 50 volunteers, especially for our Christmas toy drive or
whatever.
You name it. It's something where they need that. We're talking about nickels and dimes, relatively speaking, to just become a member and have access to all those questions, if not literally volunteers. And pricing.
You don't even have to go to ChatGPT. You can use real life people to help you with that. And when you go to our website, doviasacramento.org, you can see the different tiers as far as if you want to have your whole organization, if you're just doing individually. Maybe your organization isn't going to pay for it. They say, okay, it's too much. You can join as an individual. Depending on what your tax situation is, you could write it off. I'm not a tax advisor. Don't get me on that. But you could write, and it's well worth it. As I told you earlier, even if Meristem wasn't so generous, even if they did not pay for mine, I definitely would still. Because I get that much, not just enjoyment, but professional development. As I said earlier, things have changed a lot from 2007, 2008 to now, almost 20 years later. The landscape's changed, how we deal with volunteers, what we do, all the computer stuff. So keeping up on that, keeping up on technology, keeping up on social media. You ask me, what's your LinkedIn? What's your this? What's your that? I'm like, I have no clue. I don't know. So different things like that really makes a difference. So again, the investment, and let's say you are a nonprofit and you're thinking about, I don't know, I don't want to know if I want to spend that much money. That volunteer, let's say just dollar per dollar, the dollar you spend on volunteer management or volunteer recruitment, that usually comes back to you at least $4 or $5. Not just necessarily donor-wise, but in the hours spent where you don't have to pay someone. We don't have to pay someone to mow the lawn, let's say. I mean, for example, there's a lot of different needs. Yeah, where it's worth it in the long run. Even in the short run, I feel it's even worth it in the short run.
Talking, in some cases, less than a cup of coffee a month for an annual.
Easy. Less than a Jamba Juice. I mean, Jamba Juice. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Definitely. And again, if your organization won't pay for it, I highly think that you should pay for it yourself.
Especially if you're a volunteer coordinator, because it will save you the amount of time, and your time has value.
Exactly. So you're not getting, or maybe you are, like for instance, I'll just say one great reference, and that's called Sign Up Genius. Now, in 2007, there was no such thing as Sign Up Genius. I don't know if you've ever heard about it.
I have not, but
Sign Up Genius is free. You can go there. You can say, I need 50 volunteers for such and such. And then the volunteers will see that. They'll click on. They'll sign up for a spot. And then it's all done. They'll send out reminders. You can send out a personal email if you want. Your personal thank you. In my day, before this stint as volunteer coordinator, we didn't have that. Please call us. Please, maybe email was kind of getting, but some people didn't even want to email. It's just like, I want to call you. Keeping all track of all those lists and how to call them and remind them. Now it's so much easier. So just productive ways. How to use a CRM to coordinate that with your volunteer management. Different things like that.
And that's a big deal for a lot of people who aren't familiar. That's a little bit more technology than they grew up with or
they want.
Experience. Well, especially depending on the age of
exactly
the audience that you're particularly dealing with. So I'm just shocked that it could be so easy and so simple when I hear so many organizations come through the studio here to tell us, the volunteers they're a challenge. They're diminishing. We don't have as many as we used to. We can't find them. And I'm like, wow, that is a challenge. I get it. But there's an organization that it can reach out to help.
Let Dovia help you with that.
Yeah.
And You can call me on my cell phone. Call me on my personal cell phone. Because it is, I mean, I just have this, well, when I was young, I wanted to become a nun, okay? Then I got to high school and changed my mind. But, and I just have this spirit, I want to help people. Maybe that's why I do what I do. But also help people that are in your profession. It's like, we can help you with that. And I want, as we were talking about, over, close to 900 nonprofits that just participated in Big Day of Giving. How come all of those don't have volunteer coordinators in DOVIA? Just think of what, and I find the exact opposite. When people say we have such a hard time finding volunteers, I'm like, let me share with you, because I have more volunteers sometimes. For instance, sometimes the high school students wait until the last minute. Their hours are due, let's say on May 8th. On May 7th, they're texting me, I need 30 hours by tomorrow or something like that. And so I might have 40 students that need to go someplace. If I can't use them all, I'm happy to share the wealth with you. Mm-hmm. I'm lucky. Also, I go to volunteer, they call them fairs or service fairs. Intel used to have one. I don't think they do that anymore. Ever since the shutdown, the pandemic, they don't have service. But UPS used to host a service fair. Intel used to host a service fair. And we would go out to there and we'd set up our little booths, and I'd be right next to maybe Loaves and Fishes or something. Well, St. Francis and Jesuit High School still do that. So you go out there. Not only do you meet potential volunteers, but I've established a great relationship. Maybe you know Mark Laver of UCP.
Don't.
So we've developed a great relationship together as two organizations. We put on a talent show together. UCP now holds their summer camp at Meristem. So look at all the different ways that it's helping our organization just through having a volunteer coordinator.
Well, and I hear so many organizations, big organizations, that have their volunteers, their employees as volunteers. Banks, every bank does it. And they claim their volunteer hours and say, here's how many hours we committed to the community. Boy, they should all be members.
Yes.
They should, because you can guide and direct them and say, you may be using a particular nonprofit, but maybe they don't need it the most.
Right.
It just happens to be the one you've been working with or whatever. But there's one over here that really needs your help.
Yes.
And that's a better value. A better value proposition for everybody all in.
All in. For instance, we have Blue Shield coming out on June 11th. We're lucky to have a great relationship with them, not only from a financial standpoint, but also they want to bring a group out to volunteer in the garden. Some of them, I won't say stuck, but I feel like you're stuck in your little cubicle. So to come out to our garden, get to take home some lettuce and some peaches, it's like win-win,
Right.
And they get to dig in the dirt, which is fun for them. For Big Day of Service, I don't know if you've heard of that. Through Brad, through SVP, and SVP is so good to DOVIA. Thank you. And so we had Big Day of Service. We had 40 Girl Scouts come out and paint 23 picnic tables. How fun was that? Thanks to Meg Irwin and the Girl Scouts and the great connection that we've had over the couple of years. They want to come back again next year. So that'd be their third year. But again, if there was no volunteer coordinator, we wouldn't have got that.
Correct.
We wouldn't have got our picnic tables painted. Girl Scouts wouldn't have had a fun time painting each other red. Different things like that.
Yeah.
So there's so many more benefits other than just the money, although that's important. The fun factor goes into it too.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me, if the organization had an unlimited budget, if there was somebody that said, I really like what you're doing, I think you could change the dynamic of volunteerism in the community.
Not just in the community. Worldwide, yes.
I'm giving you the opportunity. What would it look like if somebody said,
here's a blank check.
Money is no
SVP,
object.
he just came and said, here you go.
Yes.
Brad already signed the check. Well, I asked Leslie that because she's our chair. So I said, Leslie, what would you do? She said she would hire the top trainers to give specialized training to the volunteer coordinators. That's what she would do because they tend to be expensive. I'm taking a free workshop that's kind of like an introduction. It's 4 weeks, but then they, of course, want you to buy the expensive one. And I don't think it's that expensive, but we'll see what Erin says. And so she said she would hire the top trainers because there are workshops and seminars for social media or for using a CRM. But to pinpoint, to narrow it down into what the volunteer coordinator does, there are some specifics and there are some great tips and there are some, I don't like to use the word hack. I don't really believe in biohacking and stuff like that. But there are some great resources that are akin just to or specified just for the volunteer coordinator. So that would be her dream. Mary Lynn, she thinks more like I do.
And Mary Lynn is, for the benefit of those who don't know.
Yes, she used to be the volunteer coordinator for the whole city of Sacramento. That's when I knew her, when I worked at St. John's.
Okay.
Now she is retired, but she still loves Dovia. She's still really active. She's still our backbone. She's still like our, even though I think she's younger than me, she's
She's a key volunteer for the organization.
Extremely key volunteer. And so she has the same vision I have. I would like to see 90% of the nonprofits have their volunteer coordinator as a member of DOVIA. Again, for the fun factor, for the outreach, for what we can do, because that has layers to it. When you have an active, engaged volunteer coordinator, that's going to go out into the community. The community is going to be more involved with your organization. Because I'll be the first to say, not everyone wants to volunteer at Meristem. I understand that. You have the people from the cat sanctuary, the El Dorado Hills. You know, some people like me, but I'm allergic to cats, so I have to go someplace else. But they just want to be with cats all day. Mm-hmm. And so I'd say, well, no, let me tell you about the animal sanctuary or something like that. So I'm not saying that everybody has to volunteer at my organization, but you're going to find once you get out there, once your volunteer coordinator gets out there, they're going to find those volunteers that are just perfect for you.
Yes.
For instance, when I was at St. John's and I worked with a company called The Golden One, and I went out there, did a presentation for St. John's, and one of the people said, oh, I'd love to.
You're talking about the credit union.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Maybe you've heard they had a little building at one time. Yes. And so they said, and one of the executive secretaries came to me and said, oh, I'd love to volunteer. I said, oh, great. You're so outgoing. You're great with people. She goes, Twyla, I'm with people all day. Can I just sit in an office and do data entry? I'm like, yes, thank you. So it's important just because you might have a degree in accounting that I not stick you in the accounting department. That's where the Blue Shield people come in. They want to be outside in the garden, doing something. So we can find those volunteer coordinators can find that person who either loves data entry or loves to get their feet dirty.
And I can't think of an organization that wouldn't want somebody that maybe helps with their social media or maybe can do these postings.
Thank you.
Because it's volunteer. How do you find somebody? Well, call DOVIA and see if they have an interested party who loves doing that.
Exactly. We also have a job board at DOVIA. So maybe you're looking to be a volunteer coordinator or never have been, but you really have an interest in working with the food bank or whatever it is. I'm just picking something. We have a job board where if your organization or you are a member of DOVIA, you can post that. That's really exciting.
So we drifted a little bit from the big vision.
The big vision.
The big vision would be what? With that unlimited budget?
With the unlimited budget, we would do, I would think, commercials. Commercials on the Super Bowl. So I would say more outreach, and sometimes that maybe costs money. Not that much money, but I still believe that word of mouth is the best. So the more members we could get in to tell their cohort, oh yeah, join this organization, it's great. And Leslie says that.
It's an awareness of what the organization does.
It is.
It's just making sure people know that, that you exist.
That we exist and that we are worth existing.
Yes.
We're not a dinosaur in the profession. We're not a dinosaur for a nonprofit.
Yeah.
I might be as old as a dinosaur, but we are not a dinosaur in the profession. We are more needed, I think, than ever.
In your day-to-day, back to reality of the... Yeah, right?
Back to the future, back to reality. Okay.
What is today the greatest need?
Money.
Okay.
Because
it's fair enough.
I would say for a small organization like us, I mean, again, we're so grateful to SVP because it used to be when we had the volunteer awards, we were co-sponsored with Volunteer Center. You remember the Volunteer Center, but they're not there. Impact Foundry, they've kind of changed. United Way, they've gone a different direction. So we haven't, in fact, when DOVIA started, talking about our history 48 years ago, we were actually partnered with JCPenney. JCPenney used to give away the Golden Rule Award. Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-hmm. No, I didn't hear about the award, but I certainly know the Golden Rule.
Okay. He said that the golden rule was to treat everyone like you would want to be treated. Mm-hmm. Let's say you were down and out. You would like someone to come and help you. So he started the golden rule. And so we started with them. And so they were like a sponsor. But now we're on our own. Mm-hmm. We're on our own. And to put on these events, even looking for a venue, I mean, I am so thankful to Eschaton, who at one time donated venue space to us. Sierra 2 donated venue space. We talked about Shriners. Bonnie Davis, she's the volunteer coordinator out there. They've donated space. Donated space is now huge. Shout out to my own company. Thank you, Aaron, for hosting the last awards, for volunteer awards. But space is at a premium these days, you know? It's pretty expensive. So those are ways, and those things cost money. We have awards, we have certificates, we have food. We want to feed these people when they come. So it's not a lot that we need. We're not multi-million-dollar, but even $5,000 can make a huge difference. And when we think about all those volunteer organizations out there, if they just gave like $5 a year, we're in it.
Right.
We're in it to win it.
And it's a nominal amount. And that's why I say the contribution from an organization to be a member for the return, and 1 hour of time wasted pays for the entire year of membership. And
Jeff, if I go away from nothing from this podcast, just you now realizing the benefits of volunteer coordination and what DOVIA can do for our community, that's been huge. That's been great.
Right.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
So let's shift gears for just a second. If people haven't already figured out a little bit about what Twyla's about, the energy and the enthusiasm and the passion for what you do and coordinate for our nonprofits.
Well, don't get me wrong. People think, oh my gosh, you're so enthusiastic. You have so much energy. If I had to do what Sawyer did, I would be blank staring you the whole time. I'd be like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And you know what? I don't even want to know what you're talking about. But I love what I do, and that kind of resonates. Yeah. So don't think I'm always this excited when someone says, could you please plug it? What? No, that can't happen.
Not my thing.
Not my thing. No, exactly.
Well, we know that. That would be one of the questions. This is where we go beyond the mission just a little bit.
Okay, guys. Okay, I'm ready.
Let's learn a little bit.
This is going to be the hard part. Okay.
A little bit about Twyla. And I know some things, so I will steer you in a couple of things.
Don't tell the things I told you not to tell, okay?
Favorite exercise?
Yoga.
Okay.
Yoga.
Coffee or tea?
Jamba Juice.
Oh, interesting. That's sweet.
I don't drink either. I know. If I get to come back, I remember somebody said, if you got to come back as any animal, what would you be? I don't know if that's a question. Hummingbird.
Would somebody be surprised to learn about you that they may not know?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I'm pretty open book. I think everybody knows everything about me, Jeff. How about this one? When I was young, my parents would not let me buy Rolling Stones albums because they said they do drugs. Later in life did I learn that probably the biggest drug user were the Beach Boys. But I could always buy Beach Boy music because they look like happy surfers that, So I always had this sort of fantasy about the Rolling Stones. And when I got a job at Get Set Up, which is another place where I work, they said, what would be your ultimate dream job? I go, I'd love to do backup dancing with the Rolling Stones. So they sent me to 3 days down to Riverside to do backup dancing with the Rolling Stones tribute band. I tell you, you might not know that about me. You might think I'm very meek and mild and be very nervous about getting on stage dancing, but it wasn't. It was a Beatles versus Rolling Stones. So I had the Beatles, I had the Rolling Stones. I was like, other than me having my babies at home, that was probably the third best thing in my life.
Favorite color?
Yellow.
Okay. First car?
65 Ford Mustang. Thanks, Dad.
Oh, my gosh. What a fun car.
The best car.
What a great car.
Mustang Sally. And Sally was my mom's name, so.
Are you a TV watcher or a movie person?
Movie.
Favorite movie?
No, you're not going to believe this. Film noir movies.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that weird? Yes, give me an old film noir movie with Sterling Hayden or Humphrey Bogart or Joan Crawford, Betty Davis. I'll take it. I love that. I love the black and white. I love what they wore. I love their outfits. It's just, give me a film noir movie. And Double Indemnity. Have you seen that one with Barbara Stanwyck and Fred McMurray?
No.
Oh my gosh, I can watch that over and over. The acting was acting. It was so good. So people think, oh, she must like musicals. I don't like musicals. I do like Saturday Night Live, and I do like Grease. But other than that, I'm not a musical person.
Guilty pleasure?
Oh, let's see. What would my guilty pleasure be? Like, are you talking food-wise? Or binging out on Netflix?
Whatever.
Guilty pleasure, I would say, because I try not to watch a lot of TV, but my guilty pleasure is definitely Great British Bake Off.
Well, there we go.
So much. I just love it. It is kind of a guilty pleasure because my daughter, she was raised Waldorfish. In Waldorf, you don't have any screens or anything. And so my grandson he's 8 years old. He's never seen a screen, can't look at, videos, stuff like that. But I'm just so excited. I can't wait to show him Great British Bake Off, which he'll probably have no interest in it. But yeah, that's my favorite guilty pleasure.
Okay, so what is the best way for somebody who is interested in wanting to support the organization to learn more, to get involved, to see if it's right for their organization or for themselves personally?
I just love a song. Call me. Go to doviasacramento.org.
Okay, DOVIA.
Sacramento.org. Mine's been BINGO, DOVIA. Give a Dovia game with that. Okay, but that'll be for the next workshop. doviasacramento.org, spell out Sacramento, or you could just use your favorite search engine and do Dovia, and it pops up. We have a Facebook page. I realized that a couple of days ago. We have a Facebook page. You can see the winners of our Volunteer of the Year awards.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, that's great. And you could do that. You could info@doviasacramento.org. You could also call me. Are you going to put my information, my contact information? Yes, you can contact me. If I cannot help you, I'll definitely lead you to membership person or mentorship person or whatever you're interested in.
Back to the beginning of the conversation of the awareness of an agency that exists to support nonprofits with volunteers in so many different ways, whether it be literally for the volunteers and or for the leadership skill set of a volunteer coordinator who exists, or in some cases it may be a multifaceted job. This is just one of them that somebody has to take on at the organization because volunteers are so significant, is just I can't imagine why somebody wouldn't be interested in saying, can you help us find these volunteers, whether it's 2, 3, 4, or we have an event where we need thousands. And we obviously hear of both, from the smallest to the largest. And you have youth-oriented, you have schools and the Girl Scouts, I'm sure Boy Scouts, anybody that has an interest in community service, that's a requirement for them to fulfill. Again, the organizations themselves don't have the wherewithal to reach out and find all those things, but you do. And that's an amazing asset that we have in the community that I think is certainly underutilized. And for the expense, the investment is so small. It's so small. I don't know. I'm trying to encourage everybody that hears the episode to at least look into how it might help your organization. Again, because we hear people complain and fret over the fact that they can't get the volunteers. We just need volunteers. We have revenue. We're good. We're funded differently than some other organizations. Right. So we need people. And to be all volunteer, I'm sure anybody that's listening can sense the energy and the enthusiasm you have for the organization in the way that it supports the people it supports in the community. Yeah, I mean, you're connected to so many different organizations. It's just amazing. So Dovia is this little
tiny gem in Sacramento. We're just a seed that's going to grow and grow. And what
48 years later.
48 years later, yes. And we're still growing. And I think one of the things you just said too is that when I look at all the experiences I've had over the years, how many volunteer organizations would even think of, wait a second, homeschoolers, they're not doing anything during the day. Well, I was on both boards of the State Homeschooling Association. So I can just contact some of the homeschoolers and say, would you like to volunteer? Bring your kids out to the garden. We have this going on. It could be a family day because I'm there on weekends, something like that. So you never know where your next volunteer is going to come from. That's one thing I've discovered too. So the same thing, we can help you that way. Volunteer organization, or not just volunteer organizations that are in the community. Have you ever given a speech at Seroptimus talking about volunteers? I have a great relationship with Rotary of Fair Oaks, Rotary of Orangevale. I have a great relationship, obviously, with SVP, with Brad, with the Orangevale community, different things like that.
SVP, we've mentioned it several times, Sacramento Venture Philanthropy. It's one of the organizations that aggregates nonprofits, does a wonderful job in the community, fundraising, capacity building, and Sacramento Fast Pitch is their program that many organizations have heard of. So
Yes, and we're so grateful to them.
Yeah.
And their continued, emphasis on continued, support of Dovia.
Yeah. Well, I certainly couldn't have done a better job explaining the organization, but I want to
Now you can. You're an expert.
Now I can,
I guess I won't be coming back because you've got us. You know everything. You and Sawyer now. You're the experts.
It's recorded. You just hit play again and again.
Play again.
And again.
You go to sleep with it. Like I go to sleep with a podcast every night. Like, okay, yes.
But to the team and the group of people, how many people does DOVIA actually have running its organization as volunteers?
For instance, our board members, the board, we have 7, I would say, super active board members that are on the board. But if you want a board position, we have that open too, especially with communications. But yeah, so back to what you said is, just as far as, I want to say, what is that, small but mighty?
Yes.
Sometimes.
And that's what I was getting at, those 7 people, the 7 of you that are making this happen, and coordinating and putting things together for the benefit of the nonprofits that are the membership, which we hope will now grow.
Yes.
Thank you for that, because people need to know.
Thank you.
They need to understand it. And hopefully this is just one of the catalysts that starts to move it forward again. And you can be sure we'll be sharing it every time anybody says, boy, volunteers, got you covered here.
Because, and Jeff, that's a great point. You don't need to just tell volunteer coordinators that we exist. Let those executive directors know.
Correct.
Oh, wait, there's some place that either I can go or I can send my volunteer coordinator to, or I can send my volunteer who is the volunteer coordinator, or maybe one of our volunteers wants to be the volunteer coordinator. You don't have to
Or maybe I don't even have that person.
But let us help you.
You can help because I can ask questions on what does this look like.
Exactly. I'd love to talk with you. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad we got together. And I'm so glad that I was...
That I was forced upon you.
Yes.
Somebody said you have to have her on. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure, Jeff. I hope to see you again. Thank you.
This episode has been powered by SMUD, Sacramento Municipal Utility District's Shine Awards program benefiting nonprofits for energy efficiency. Apply today. Thank you for listening to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. We hope today's episode inspired you and gave you a deeper look into the work of our local nonprofits. If you believe in our mission to amplify their voices, please take a moment to leave us a positive review and share this episode with a friend. It helps more people discover the incredible work happening in our community. Don't miss future episodes. Subscribe to our weekly updates and monthly newsletter at nonprofpod.com. And if you're a part of a nonprofit that would like to be featured, we'd love to hear from you. Just visit the Guest tab on our website. The Nonprofit Podcast Network is recorded and produced at Hear Me Now Studio with generous support from our partners, CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations, online at captrust.com. Western Health Advantage, local care with community impact. Find the plan that fits at westernhealth.com. CORE, executive leadership and comprehensive support services. Visit cxore.com. And 5 Star Bank, a local trusted advisor to community nonprofits for over 25 years. 5starbank.com. And finally, our episode sponsor, Sacramento Venture Philanthropy, a community of generosity combining people, expertise, and capital for good. svpsacramento.org.